Special Counsel Robert Mueller has dropped another Friday blockbuster with his sweeping indictment of 3 organizations and 13 Russian nationals for meddling in the 2016 U.S. presidential election. For the first time, the special counsel's team has taken dead aim at its central mandate in the investigation and laid bare the scope of what it alleges was a multi-million-dollar Russian operation to sow discord in American politics as far back as 2014. Here's a look at some of the key passages of the 37-page indictment and what they mean. Enable it in your browser or download Flash Player here. Sorry, you need Flash to play this. Russians recruited real Americans as part of information warfare. No knowledge, no collusion. Some defendants, posing as U.S. persons and without revealing their Russian association, communicated with unwitting individuals associated with the Trump campaign and with other political activists to seek to coordinate political activities. This is the key passage for the White House's effort to downplay the threat this indictment poses to Donald Trump and his presidency. Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein, in announcing the indictments, added that there was no allegation in this indictment that any American had knowledge of Russian activity. Critics will highlight the "in this indictment" portion of that statement. While Mr. Mueller's document asserts no Trump-connected individuals knew they were dealing with Russians, this isn't the end of the investigation. Russia started their anti-US campaign in 2014, long before I announced that I would run for president. The results of the election were not impacted. The Trump campaign did nothing wrong, no collusion. Donald J. Trump at Real Donald Trump, February 16, 2018. Report: the president, via Twitter and in a White House statement, insists this is proof that there was no collusion. It's better to say that there's no collusion alleged here. That certainly bolsters the White House's principal argument, but it doesn't cover any possible indictments to come. What this indictment, if it is substantiated, does do is devastate Mr. Trump's past insistence that allegations of Russian meddling were a hoax. The Trump-Russia saga in 200 words. Full text of the Russia indictment. It wasn't just Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. They engaged in operations primarily intended to communicate derogatory information about Hillary Clinton, to denigrate other candidates such as Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio, and to support Bernie Sanders and then candidate Donald Trump. The indictment paints a picture of a multi-year, multi-pronged effort to sow discord in the U.S. political process dating back to 2014, before Mr. Trump entered the presidential race. The Russians, according to Mr. Mueller's team, familiarized themselves with the U.S. political process and then took action to support, or undermine, a variety of political candidates. They allegedly attacked several of Mr. Trump's rivals in the Republican primary and backed Bernie Sanders, who mounted a populist challenge to Mrs. Clinton for the Democratic nomination. They also used social media, investigators say, to rally support for Green Party candidate Jill Stein in the general election, including an Instagram account that told Black liberal activists to choose peace and vote for Jill Stein and that it wasn't a wasted vote. In several key Midwestern states, the number of Stein votes was greater than Mr. Trump's margin of victory over Mrs. Clinton. A cloak and dagger operation. Krylova and Bogacheva, together with other defendants and co-conspirators, planned travel itineraries, purchased equipment such as cameras, SIM cards and drop phones, and discussed security measures including evacuation scenarios for defendants who traveled to the United States. One of the more breathtaking revelations of the indictment was that Russian attempts to influence the U.S. presidential election went well beyond virtual efforts on social media. It included actual Russian nationals entering the U.S. under false pretenses and posing as Americans to conduct clandestine activities, according to the document. It's the kind of espionage activity that harkens back to the Cold War and an indication of the seriousness and sophistication behind the Russian efforts. Crimes were committed. Defendants, together with others known and unknown to the grand jury, knowingly and intentionally conspired to defraud the United States by impairing, obstructing and defeating the lawful functions of the Federal Election Commission, the U.S. Department of Justice and the U.S. Department of State, and administering federal requirements for disclosure of foreign involvement in certain domestic activities. There had been a line of argument from some Donald Trump supporters that Russian meddling efforts, even if proven, wouldn't constitute a criminal offense, and a connection between Russia and the Trump campaign, if established, wouldn't be a fatal blow. Attack.